Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cloud Experts Unleashed. And today I am excited to have with me Mark Takata. He is, Mark, first, congrats on the new title. You are now
Thank you.
I shouldn't say just, but you are not the technical evangelist. But what do we got down there? Senior technical evangelist,
Senior.
a
Yes, I
senior
am
social
slowly
poster,
adding on
yes.
like Voltron to my name.
And you and I were talking beforehand, and we believe that in the next few years, you look down there, everybody, the senior director of ColdFusion Technical Evangelism Affairs and Education czar.
100%. The
Yep. So
more words
that's
in your
actually a
title, the
track in
better.
Adobe that you can get to this, and it's
100%. Yeah,
so
my
it.
boss is gonna throw me out a window for that.
Or there's actually be like level two
Yeah,
senior czar and
there you
everything.
go.
But
I think
but
principal is next, but
there you go. But today we're here to talk about several things. We have an online summit coming up here in a month or so, I think it is. You can correct me on the dates there, Mark.
just a few
We
weeks. Yeah.
also we also have Summit East, Cold Fusion Summit East in Reston, Virginia, coming up in April 23rd, 24th. So
Yes,
I
sir.
wanted to bring Mark here and kind of talk about both of these events. So Mark, welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, let me start with Summit Online because people get a little bit confused about that one because the name obviously is also kind of long. It's like CF Summit 2024 Online. Like, what the heck is that? So essentially what this event is, this is an event for people who were unable to go to Vegas last year. It features most of the speakers that spoke in Vegas, and they're going to be doing an online live version of their same talks that they did in Vegas, which will then be recorded and put online for people to catch if they can't catch it, online this time around. They can watch it on replay. The times will be kind of all over the map because we're actually trying to match up to a global audience. We have some people that are going to be on like European Standard, India Standard, some East, US East, US Pacific. So there'll be something for everyone. But like I said, at the end of the day, even if you want to catch something in European time, don't want to be up at 2 a.m., you can just watch it on replay and get most of the same effect as watching it live. So that's going to be spread out, by the way, over multiple. Yeah. So it's not all like bam, 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 all in one day or anything like that. It'll be like one or maybe two a day, depending on the day, spread out over several weeks, just so that you can catch it on like, if you have a break or lunch or something, you can just kind of like get out there, watch somebody do their thing, and then you have the rest of your day to do whatever you need else to do
All
at
right.
work.
And I know I got an email about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll drop in the current
Perfect.
website address. It's down
Perfect.
there.
You can
We
register there.
can register there. Can find out more information. We'll also have this on the YouTube notes and the blog notes, so that you're welcome to try and write it down, or you can catch it in any of those notes.
Perfect. One thing to note, by the way, if you go there today, right now, this moment, you'll see there are more speakers listed than events. That's because some of us are still missing there. We were waiting to make sure that other people got their requested slots and then putting the Adobe employees in the other spots because we have flexible schedules, so we could talk whenever we wanted to. So you'll notice that none of the engineers or myself are on there quite yet. That's coming really, really soon. And also, I highly recommend that you register for it, even if you think you're not going to watch it live, but are interested in watching it later, because if you register, you'll get an email when all of the videos are up for replay,
Nice.
And you'll be able to go see it. So, yeah.
So this is a great little thing.
Definitely.
I mean, at Summit, if you missed a session, it's a great catch up then. I mean, even if you
Yeah,
went to the Summit in Vegas, you can get something out of
exactly.
this one.
Exactly. Sometimes you just get that, like, do I go to Mark's session or do I go to Ryan's session? I don't know. They're equally awesome at
That is true.
tech stuff,
Ryan's session was at the booth the whole time, so
right?
the luckily for everybody, they never had to make that choice. The
That's true.
Ryan
Well,
session was
you
like,
had a mohawk,
yeah,
so I didn't. So you were one up on me. Yeah, no, but it's a really good point. There are definitely people who were complaining, like, "Oh man, like I wanted to go to both, and you guys aren't recording it." And so this gives you a chance to see those other sessions that you may have missed from Vegas. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. And then so that's the online version. Then we also have CF Summit East.
CF Summit East in Reston, Virginia. We're calling it DC because, I mean, whatever, if you get lost and wander north, you end up in DC in a few hours.
I
But
mean, you can metro right there.
yeah,
Orange line right to DC.
you could just take the metro right up to DC. Yeah, it's in the DC area. Obviously, it's kind of, DC spreads out pretty far across. It's actually closer to the airport than our previous event. Our partner Caresoft is actually handling the event. It'll be in their facility, which is really, really nice. We've got the run of the place. And it is a government focused event, which is not to say that you shouldn't go if you're not in government. That's something that people always go, I work for, I don't know, a university, or I work for a big company in, Virginia or North Carolina or something, much closer to Vegas. But this sounds like a more government focus. So am I going to be welcome there? Am I going to get something out of it? And the answer is yes, you should still go. It's definitely the things that are going to be talked about definitely have a little bit more of a government focus. We talk about things that are maybe more applicable to like large enterprises, military, government, their contractors. However, the things are also applicable to other folks, security, right? Deployment, moving from version to version, right? What are the issues that you might have? These are all problems or concerns that people from all over the map might have that are going to be talked about here. The other thing that I really like about this summit, especially if you've never been to a summit before, it's small and it's kind of approachable. Like Vegas is a little bit of a circus, right? I mean, just generally the whole thing, right? You're in Vegas, it's kind of wild. There's way more people. The parties are big. It can be a little bit overwhelming for somebody who may not have ever gone to one of these. Here we have about half the people. We have our own facility. It's a little bit quieter. You can network in a way that might be a little bit more effective than in Vegas potentially. I mean, it depends what your personality is, but it's definitely something to check out. For me, I say go to both because they're two different experiences. It's a little bit like Disneyland and Disney World, right?
Okay.
Like,
It's good comparison.
yeah, because they're both Disney, right? But like they're definitely different, and they're a different vibe in each different place. Same with the summits. One big advantage of East is the price, which is a whopping $0 to go. It's free to attend for everyone who wants to, which is awesome. It includes breakfast, which best deal in town. You're getting
Free breakfast.
free food, and oh yeah, free breakfast, free lunch.
Now so I'm gonna put down here the dates here. It's April 23rd to 24th. The 24th is the free part. The 23rd is the certification summer one that was in Vegas, and there is a fee for the 23rd. Is that correct? Or
that is correct. Yeah. So the 24th is the actual summit event, which is sort of its own thing. On the 23rd, we're having an Adobe Certified Professional, Adobe ColdFusion certification course. It's going to be a full day course that you can take to essentially help you towards passing your certification. Now, to be clear, if you've never done ColdFusion before and you try to step in here and do the certification, you might have a bad time. This is definitely going to test your ability to do programming in general. If you don't know object-oriented programming, you might have a little bit of trouble in the test because we do test a lot of those aspects as they apply to Adobe ColdFusion. Having said that, it's a great certification course just to go to upskill yourself, learn new things, maybe knock a little bit of the rust off on some of the more advanced things that you might not have done recently. And there is a cost to that, and it's $99. and it does also
That's not
include
bad at all for certification.
super cheap
I don't know.
cert. I mean, considering it's not just a cert, it's an all-day class with
Yeah.
an expert instructor,
And
and
that includes the
includes
certification, though. You can take. Is
in
that? Oh wow.
both.
Okay.
Yeah, $99 gets you the class and the cert. It's the best deal in town. We literally lose money on that. I can tell you right now. We lose money on every person that joins that because we want people to take the course. Right? It is
Now,
a net win.
if so, for me, I did the Vegas course. I opted
Mhm.
not to take the test. I wasn't. I'm not a hardcore developer, so I just wanted to learn some stuff.
Yeah.
But I had some roots in development. I went to that one in Vegas. Pretty sure I'm gonna attend this next one to kind of re-up my skills even more. Maybe I'll get the nerve to take the test. But that brings up a good point.
Mhm.
If you didn't pass the test in Vegas, this and you haven't retested to pass it, this could be another way, if you're on the East Coast at least,
Another
to attend
chance.
this one.
Hmm. Yeah, and for $99, it really makes sense to to just go and sit and kind of just absorb, right? Because our trainers are amazing, right? Right now we have enough people signed up for one trainer. It's going to be Brian Sappe, who's an amazing trainer. A lot of you have probably done his online courses. You may have been actually you were in his room, I think, Ryan.
I was in Nolan's.
You were Nolan. Okay.
Yeah.
We do have other trainers on deck in case we do get enough people signed up to spread across multiple rooms. And we have enough to cover, well, I might eat my words later, as many people as want to sign up. So prove me wrong and sign up so many people that I end up having to teach one of them.
Here we go. So
Because
I'll drop the link here. So to sign up, this is for the overall event, the 24th, but there's a link to it for the 23rd.
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, get on there, sign up. It is definitely worth it. It's a great day in the classroom. You're going to learn a lot. Even if you're a pretty good developer, I guarantee you there's going to be something in the coursework that you'll just be like, I didn't know that. Whether it's learning the Hollywood pattern or, something about interfaces. Like there's things in there that are definitely pretty high level. There's also some more basic stuff. It runs the gamut. But it definitely worth your day and definitely worth $99.
I have to go look up this Hollywood pattern now. So I'm gonna write this down. Mark
The
mentioned the
Hollywood
Hollywood.
pattern. Don't call us, we'll call you.
Ah.
Yes, but
Ooh.
it's a good one. In addition, by the way, there
Okay.
will be some additions, and I can't tell you exactly what they will be quite yet. But the course material that will be included with the course is actually going to be expanded a bit. We are currently working on that, which is going to be awesome and amazing. Can't wait to show everyone the new stuff that we're doing. We're working with a big team of amazing ColdFusion developers to build out all that new material for the course, the course stuff. And yeah, it's going to be, I think people will be a little bit blown away by all of the additions that you'll be getting. So for $99, not only do you get your day in the classroom, you get your ability to try and take the certification, but you also gain access to all of the videos that come with the certification course for 1 year, which
Okay.
is an awesome library to have access to just, oh, what was this thing? Like, I want to build this, I want to do that. What was that particular way of doing it? What was the code sample that Nolan showed me or that Brian showed me? You can pop in there, go in the video, and be like, right, that's how
Okay.
you
So I
do
mean,
that.
so people could do either way. They could do just the 23rd, just the 24th, or do both.
You do both? Yeah. If
Lots of
you're coming
options.
for the 23rd, though, you should
Should
stay
stay.
for the next day. Stay for the next day. It's free. It's awesome. There's lots of opportunities for networking, meeting new people. If you're hiring people, it's a great place to find, Cold Fusion developers, which
If you need a
while
cloud
growing,
solution, come to
if you
xByte
need,
Cloud.
is that what you guys do? Love you.
I mean,
Um,
I mean, the title has the CMO. I got to brand at some point.
You got to brand it. No, but that does actually bring up a good point, is that there will be great vendors there as well. Our partners will be there. So no matter what you're looking for, whether it's cloud or security or whatever, it's a good place to go and meet the people that will be doing the work for you, which is always a really great way to make that relationship, find the thing that you need for your company, and get the ball rolling on that. So
Now, you
um,
mentioned it was more intimate than Vegas. What makes it like that? Is it just because it's smaller, or what makes it so you
uh,
think you can create the better relationships or better conversations?
so the really big thing is, in Vegas, because of just physically where you're at, right? You're in this incredibly large hotel with a lot of just physical space everywhere. People don't tend to congregate. They will go to a class and then go to lunch, go to a class, go grab a coffee. They're not going to be in the space together for very long necessarily. Not only that, there's just way more people and way more places to be going to different events that are going on. In DC, we're going to have about half the people. We're expecting about half the people that go to Vegas. Now, I might be wrong there, because I've been surprised before with how many people signed up. But since we are in a dedicated facility that's not a hotel, it's not a conference center necessarily. I mean, they have a conference area that's dedicated to that, that will be taking over. Because of that, everyone is in the same place. They're all there together. They're all there for the same reason, and it kind of brings about that networking vibe, right?
Okay.
You know that the person sitting next to you is likely a ColdFusion developer or someone in the ColdFusion space, maybe a vendor. You feel more comfortable to reach out. In Vegas, I mean, you might be in line at Starbucks, and the guy next to you might be a professional bull rider, or he might be the senior technical evangelist for Adobe ColdFusion. Who knows? Or
Ooh.
both.
Now,
That's the side of me you don't know about.
if you we're gonna have to put a pin in that one. My expression of the year, or I know I'm a little. Mark, you and I were talking earlier that my trendy nature. So I'm just now catching on to the put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it. Right. Welcome
Yep.
to 2009. Almost there, Ryan. We're almost there.
Almost. So now if people went to Vegas, or if they're planning to go to Vegas this year,
Mhm.
are these sessions going to be repeated? Um,
Great
is it
question.
or are they different sessions, or the different presenters? How's that going to work out?
Hmm. That's a really good. That's a really good question. So the answer is they will not be repeated. We actually handle the two events very, very differently. In Vegas, we actually do a call for proposals. So we go out into the community at large. We go to our customers and we essentially say, "Hey, listen, tell us what you want to talk about. Give us ideas for presentations and describe them to us, and we will pick out the top 30 or whatever that we feel will work really well." And we get all kinds, from CSS to frameworks to optimization, or whatever. It's all over the map, and we pick the nicest mix of them that we feel will be of value to our attendees. DC is different. DC, because it tends to be a little bit more focused on government, we actually choose what we're going to have our speakers talk about, and we kind of assign them the talks and ask them to do particular talks that are of interest and of value to those government and military and contractor communities. Now, again, it's not to say that if you work for a corporation or even a small medium business that it won't be of interest to you, because some of that stuff is kind of universal. It's just that more esoteric stuff ends up in Vegas than ends
Okay.
up in DC. DC is more of a straight shooter. It's going to be security. It's going to be building a CI/CD pipeline inside of FedRAMP or something like that. Like, it's going to be very, very tightly focused on that kind of thing. It's not going to be building a virtual reality engine using ColdFusion and your Meta headset or something like that. Which we've had sessions like that. We actually had someone build Pokemon Go using ColdFusion. Um,
Nice.
yeah,
About
yeah.
time.
There's a talk. There's a talk on that on our YouTube channel, by the way, my friend. It was one of my favorite sessions. That was a session I went to before I was the evangelist, and I sat there with my jaw on the ground the entire time as the Adobe engineer basically built this thing using React Native and ColdFusion as the back end. It was wild and awesome. I loved it.
Now, what you just
But
brought, we just mentioned about the FedRAMP could potentially be like a topic. I know that's much more for federal than it is for other people. Are there
yeah,
going to be multiple sessions at the same time? So if someone's not
yes.
into the FedRAMP, they can go to something else.
Yeah, and I probably should not have spoken about FedRAMP. So we won't have something that specific
Okay.
because even government, like FedRAMP, is really federal government, right? That's a super tight niche. We probably wouldn't have someone talking about that particular exact thing. If someone wanted that, we could find a speaker and do like a private type of
Okay.
thing. It's going to be more about things like securing your code, OWASP, things that are extremely important to these customers, but not necessarily a narrow, tiny little niche. However, to answer your question, there will be 2 tracks almost throughout the entire day. We'll actually have a keynote at the top, and then we will have a special presentation by the Adobe product manager for ColdFusion, Sharvi Du. She will be doing a session all on her own after lunch to talk about what's coming next, which we figured everybody would want to go see. So that'll be fun. But otherwise, yeah, there'll always be 2 things happening at once. So you could choose to do, maybe the server-oriented thing versus the programming-oriented. If you're not working with like front-end stuff, maybe you don't want to go do
Okay.
the talk on whatever web components or Alpine or whatever. Maybe you want to go do something on the other side. So
Now, you mentioned the free breakfast, and then you just mentioned lunch. Is lunch also included in this?
yes, sir.
Both?
Breakfast and lunch.
Harrison, you're amazing.
I've heard a rumor there might even be an event at night on one of the nights. So
Can you
there might be a
tip us off which night even that this non-events may not or may happen?
We'll know. We'll know well before the event happens.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Yeah. I'm not sure which night it will be, but we wanted to offer an opportunity for people to network in a more sort of casual type of scenario, similar to Vegas, but without all the hype and fireworks and craziness.
Nice.
So we should be offering that. That's still, details are being worked out on, but I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. So I can talk about it a little bit there. But yeah, we definitely want to offer that sort of opportunity for people to meet. It's a really nice thing also for government. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the way that government kind of works in this space, but like even amongst people that are working in federal or whatever, they don't tend to talk. They're very siloed for good reason, right? Security and all that. But in some cases, I actually feel like there's value. If someone at the NSA has found something that secures their ColdFusion stuff and the FBI has a similar setup, those 2 folks talking actually has a ton of value. Or a CI/CD pipeline that works really well for them, that's super efficient, right? Like that has a lot of value. I actually connected one of the customers from DC with an education customer that I had because they were building an F5 load balanced like hardened system. And my other customer in education had already done it. It was something I had worked on for years.
Oh.
And they had mentioned it, and I got them together, and it was wonderful, right? Like they got all their questions answered. They were able to go leaps ahead, weeks and weeks ahead, because the research had already been done. They had a working model that had been in production for at this point, 4 years. So all the things that they needed to know about, we already knew. So they were able to kind of congregate. That's the type of scenario that we're trying to sort of foster here, that collaborative spirit.
Yeah. So if someone has a project that they're trying to get off the ground, or they're trying to find someone else who's having similar, they're trying to accomplish similar feats, that's another reason to attend.
Another reason. Yeah, there was a great story, actually. This is a story I always like to tell. Back in right when COVID hit, there was a project that one of the government agencies, I forget who it was. It was one of the health agencies. They wanted to do a little bit of tracking of side effects. because there just wasn't that didn't exist. The problem was it was a fast-moving target, and they were given something like a 3-week deadline. Nobody was willing to say we could do that in 3 weeks, except for one person in the back who said, I could do it, but we'd have to use ColdFusion, because ColdFusion is a rapid application development platform. You could do things super fast. And they were like, Cold what? What's that? He's like, I have a buddy that does this. I've seen him put stuff out in weeks. We could do it. And they said, do it. Call him. Well, his buddy worked for the Air Force and asked, basically asked for a license. And that's not the way that it works, but it caught our sort of attention, and we gave them a license to use for this project, and they knocked it out in 3.5 weeks. That ran on one server for over a year without a single second of downtime. That,
Mark,
again,
where is that story published?
It's not,
Oh,
because there's too many things that need to be redacted. But I can tell you about that much of it.
okay.
Who it was, where the agency was, all that stuff is a little bit hush hush. But that type of collaboration is something that I want to foster, because it can happen over and over and over and over again. Everybody needs an efficient development platform, right? Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to have something that takes only a couple people to do the work of 3, 4, or 5 people, right? But you may not know about that. You may not realize that that's what ColdFusion is. You might have this mythology that it's some dead language or whatever. So this allows you to speak to people who are currently using it successfully in production, doing new code, building new projects, building new applications, and doing it, with a high level of success. And then you can bring that into, your own place in the government. But again, like a government employee in Vegas, they wouldn't really talk to, because you don't know who that person is that you're talking to necessarily. Here, more than likely, it's probably another either federal or state or education employee, like somebody working who's a public servant, who's working in that space, who understands budgets and security constraints and all of that, so they can kind of speak the same language. So
I mean, unless of course this podcast generates so much attention from non-government people that if we can get the registrants to like 4 to some big number.
Yeah, hundreds of people, maybe. And you know what? That's okay. We could spin off a different government summit if that happens. I'd be totally happy to do that.
Or even Caresoft. Okay, even Caresoft could do that. They could be like, hey, you know what? We're gonna put this audience here, and
I trust Caresoft like explicitly to like they will do whatever needs to be done. They're an amazing partner. Last year's event was one of the best I've ever gone to. The food at last year's event was, unbelievable. I sat there just like people were telling me to shut up about it, because I was like, no, you don't understand how good. There was a popcorn bar, Ryan.
A popcorn bar?
Popcorn bar where you could make your own special popcorn. You could either do like a cheesy popcorn, or you could do like a kettle corn popcorn, or a caramel popcorn, dude, it was out of this world. And that was one of like 10 different crazy, amazing things that they did.
And Caresoft was putting Vegas to shame.
Seriously. Oh yeah. Yeah. There was nothing in Vegas that even approached the level of quality that these guys brought last year to last year's DC event. It was completely off the chain, and I loved every second of it. All
right. So besides the food, what else are you most looking forward to?
I really love hanging out with all of the community members that go to these events. I live for that.
Oh, I mean, you have to say that.
I do, but it's also true. And I loved it before I was the evangelist. It's really the highlight of my work to actually go to these places and just hang out with the community, our vendor partners, like everybody that's working in this space, because I know everybody else has the same level of passion for this language, this ecosystem that I have, right? We're all there for the same reason. We just love this silly little thing called CFML. And we're just all there to just be together and revel in the joy of this crazy language that's been around for decades and still keeps getting better every single year. That's the thing I look most forward to. There's a point in every single conference. It's usually about 6 a.m. on the morning of the first day when I stand in the keynote hall and I just look out on all the empty seats and I just take that moment, the calm before the storm. I usually snap a picture of it just to remember it. Like that point is the last time I can take an easy breath for about 36 hours. Because the rest of it is just an out of control, roller coaster ride, which again, I love every second of as well. But
yes. So speaking of 6 a.m., and I know you're gonna be busy the day of the event, the 24th. But can I get you to commit? I know you're a runner. We've had these talks. You no longer have a torn Achilles. It's just bruised.
it's
It's
just
probably
unhappy.
still bad.
It hurts, but it'll be fine
Um,
by then.
can we get you to commit to do like a 5K? I must do air quotes fun run the day before
I will
at
say
some
we'll do
point.
a run at some point. Yes,
At
I
some
will
point.
commit to doing something at some point. So for
Okay.
people who want to go for a run, we'll go for nice 5K, which is 7,892 bananas for the Americans watching this.
Ooh.
I don't even know. I don't even know if that's true. Yeah, we'll go out for a run because I've heard that the area that we're in. I've never actually been to this particular area of DC, Reston, but I've heard tell it is gorgeous. There's parks. There's lots of
Yeah.
really really nice areas to go. And yeah, we'll go out. We'll do a little run together. We'll get hungry for breakfast or whatever. And yeah, absolutely, you and me. And
Ooh,
about
that should be the
two.
surprise event. Instead of instead of like a social happy hour, we all do the night after. We just all go running.
Just all go running. Yeah, let you want to know how that's going to go? On the one hand, we have an open bar, like whatever. On the other hand, we're all going to like go for a 5K run, and drink Gatorade. No, I think they would run us out of town with pitchforks. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I grew up in the Reston, Fairfax area, and I can tell you they do have great trails in that area. Beautiful area
A
to go
native
running
guide.
in.
My native guide, Ryan. Okay,
Yep,
cool.
there we
Well,
go. So I'll be out there too. I gotta get myself in shape to be able to hack it with Mr. Takata here.
oh please. I hope to be able to do the thing at some semblance of a decent pace by then. I've been off my feet now for way too long with this injury. So, but we'll have fun. We'll go out there. We'll just do a thing. We'll run. We'll shoot the poop.
There we
Just
go. So if
yeah.
people are looking to discuss this Summit Easter, have any questions, or just want to find out when the fun run's going to be, where can they kind of find just open conversations about it?
So I'm everywhere. I try to be everywhere socially. But probably the best place is the CFML Slack. There's actually a channel there for whatever event happens to be going currently in person or is coming up. Currently, it's called CF Summit East 2024. So you can find that on there. It's open to join us on a private channel or anything. You can hop in there and ask me anything you want. You can DM me on there. I'm always online. I'm like eternally online. You can catch me on LinkedIn. I also respond there. So yeah, I'm all over the place. The Facebook CFML programmers group is another place that you could catch me. And I did want to mention something. Oh, surprise! I'm going to surprise Ryan here. We didn't talk about this yet. So coming up soon, I am doing a talk for the Mid-Michigan ColdFusion users group on a very fun subject, generative AI.
Ooh.
Yes. So you can find out more about that by finding it on LinkedIn or Facebook. So I'm going to give people the assignment to go looking into those channels to find out when and how they can sign up for it, because that's where
Do you
it's
have to
at.
be a Michiganonian? A
No, it's all online.
Michiganite?
Yeah, Michiganite. I think that's probably that sounds
Sure,
right.
that works.
Uh,
Yeah.
No, it's all online. It'll actually be recorded as well. It'll be on their YouTube channel. You'll be able to find it there. And it's a general high-level overview of what generative AI is, maybe some of the dangers and ethical concerns people have had with it, and comparing some of the various generative AI types that are out there. It's not necessarily a ColdFusion related talk. I did that one already for Summit, and I'll be doing that talk again online, which
Okay.
is how to use generative AI with ColdFusion. So this one actually kind of loops back into that really well. It tells you what generative AI is, maybe why you should be interested about it or terrified of it. No, you shouldn't be terrified of it. But then you'll be able to go and see my other talk and find out, well, how do I actually use ColdFusion and leverage this amazing, crazy new technology that all the kids are using.
Now I know you've you've been talking about various platforms out there for AI. Do you have a favorite platform,
Um,
or are they
it
different?
varies. It
Okay.
varies. Yeah, they're kind of different. So it depends what I'm doing and what I'm doing that thing for. Obviously, I have to say, no, I don't. I don't actually have to say it. But Firefly, so the Adobe platform for doing generative AI images, is an absolute favorite of mine. And the way that they trained it is more ethical, I guess I could say, than perhaps some of the other generative AI trainings that just kind of willy-nilly grab things from everywhere. Now, people might argue that there is no ethical way to train an AI, whatever. But hey, whatever. I'm gonna stick to my guns and say we kind of did it right. And the quality of the version 2 engine, which came out maybe a few weeks ago, something like that, is absolutely outstanding. It creates fantastic images. It's very, very good at prompting. It gets better daily. Like we constantly have like a churning CI/CD system that where they're just training and training and retraining and fixing and tuning constantly. This thing is just constantly being improved all the time, which is an amazing thing. So for professional grade, so maybe like internal, more on the text side of things, maybe. I've been really impressed with Gemini, which
Yes, I
is
heard you mentioning that. That's where I was going with this.
yeah. So Gemini is a Google product, and it's one of the first multimodal AIs, which really all that means is that it can understand and take in multiple types of inputs versus text prompt or just an image. Like you can put in different things into it and get out an answer from it. It understands different modes of intelligence or data. I guess I shouldn't say intelligence because that's a misnomer when it comes to
Yeah.
AI. But the nice thing with Gemini and with what Google's doing there is they are very, very focused on like security and making sure that the data that you're putting in there is staying your data. It's not getting leaked out. Like they use a variety of techniques, including things like RAG, to make sure that you're training your data only on your stuff, but it still comes out at a really good quality. The conversational level is really well done. It's smooth. So they have a whole line of stuff called Vertex AI,
Okay.
which includes ties into Gemini. There's a great he's a principal architect over there named Aaron Rouse. He's actually also speaking at our online summit. He has done a few posts on LinkedIn about AI recently that are definitely worth a read, talking about exactly these types of things, making sure that you're doing things in a way that protects your data, protects your company, and all that. No matter who you're using, whether it's Google or Amazon or I mean, pretty much everybody has AI these days.
Yeah.
And it feels a little bit like the Wild West, but it's also incredibly fun.
Yeah, I remember being in Vegas and ChatGPT came out with their ability to understand images. And being in Vegas, of course, what else are you going to do than take a picture of your mini fridge and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, what mixed drink should I make with this mini fridge?" So,
Really?
so
How's that?
there's my personal multimodal experience with AI.
That explains so much about that evening, Ryan. No, but I mean, all joking aside, that level of freedom of just allowing it to absorb and ingest any kind of data is really the future that we're looking at. The thing that we're missing for now is that interface between humanity and AI, like doing it through prompting or through an engine. It's a little bit difficult. Even voice commands are not quite there yet. Like, we don't really have a thing that sits by us that allows us to say, hey, go check to see if they have seltzer water at the convenience store down the street or something, right? Like, that doesn't exist. We'd have to sort of walk it through that, and it may or may not be able to actually execute on your commands. That's the future, though, is something that just has an infinite number of ways that it can get data and an infinite number of ways that it can produce that data for your consumption. So yeah,
there's your
ready.
Apple Vision Pro tease right there.
Yeah,
Hey
maybe
Siri.
a little. Here we go.
There you go.
People walking around. We have a ways to go. I think we've got the people with the Apple Vision Pros walking around, driving their cars with it, and all that.
Has anyone skied with those yet?
Oh gosh, I'm sure they have. I'd like to see a video of them doing that as they're messing with the spreadsheet and doing bumps, and then the spreadsheet goes all over the place. That would be pretty hilarious. No, I mean, I've seen video of people driving with it, which seems incredibly dangerous and stupid. I've seen people walking down the street, video of people walking down the street, moving stuff around and doing. For right now, it's a little bit of a circus. I don't think there's any really good applications that warrant that type of always on utilization of AR, but it's coming. I don't see it being that far off. Take those goggles and turn them into these.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit different.
Yeah, Radeon. I think Radeon has some glasses.
They do not have a
those are just recording, aren't they? They're just recording. Yeah.
They're they're recording. They have audio in the earpieces, and they do audio prompting to it, so you could ask it a question and get back text. So it does a little bit of it. Really, the future that's going to change the way that we interact with each other as human beings is going to be that future where your glasses can, as you're walking down the street, either identify people or see a restaurant. It'll bring up, you'll be like, hey, how good is that place? And it'll bring up, its ratings or some reviews, maybe some video reviews of people going, oh yeah, this place is great. The ramen was like rock star. You're like, oh, whoa, not my kind of joint, right? But doing that without because I can do that right now, right?
Phone.
I got one of these, right? I could walk around like this, like an idiot, or I could look it up on Yelp or whatever, website, or even Google. But there's friction there. There's a barrier to entry to do that, right? It takes me, I have to either type it, or I guess I could do voice, but then I don't know, that's just a little bit weird. Once it has that contextual understanding of where you are in real space, and melds and meshes real space with an augmented reality layer or multiple layers on top of it, that's the secret sauce. That's the money.
Mark,
That's the
we should have warned people that you and I can just rattle off stuff.
literally
The
for hours.
so well, I'll have to make a little. I know we're kind of like chatting here. I'll have to make a little note. All right, guys, if you care, if the summit stuff is from like minute this to minute this, afterwards
Yes.
it's just Ryan and Mark going at it,
Ryan and
just
Mark
chatting.
just randomly talking about the future of humanity and augmented reality and AI and all of the good things. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, this is what it's all about, right? Like, this is one of the things that makes me love my job, because my job is not only to be an evangelist just for ColdFusion, as awesome as that would be to just do that. Like, I have to be aware of everything around us, because it all comes back in, and we will be building systems in the future that will support augmented reality and AI using ColdFusion. I guarantee you, it is in the future. The same way that we access the cloud, the same way that we access databases, that we access a multitude of infinite number of data sources that we do now, those data sources will exist inside of that world as well. And so someone like me needs to know it. And so
Now
part of the
I
things
haven't
that I do.
tested this out. How good are the code samples you get from AI on ColdFusion
They're pretty
or
good.
CFMO?
Yeah.
They're pretty good.
Yeah, they are. They're pretty good. So you have to use the either Gemini or the like the four turbo,
Yeah.
whatever the newest GPT is, the paid one, not the free one. They're pretty good. You do have to be a little bit careful in terms of just the quality of the code, in terms of how they're doing a thing. It'll work. But so, like, for example, I had AI write some of my code to access AI, because I wanted to be super meta. And I just copy and pasted in there. I didn't change a line, right? Um, it wrote it, though, in a way that is considered outdated. So it was
Oh,
using CFHTTP, and it was calling it using an outdated method. And I got called out for that. They were like, Mark, you should be doing it this way, right? And what's funny is I actually prefer the old methods. So I didn't like think about it. And there's not necessarily, like, one's not better than another necessarily. I actually like the old method because it reminds me of the way that other languages do things like curl and whatever.
yeah.
Having said that, though, that is considered to be outdated. The new version is the one that gets new features and things like that. And newer languages have gone that direction in terms of the syntax.
Okay. Huh.
So if you're having it write your code, you got to be a little bit direct and say, make sure that the syntax that you write is a modern version of the way that you do this thing. And it knew that, because I asked it to rewrite it. I said, could you please rewrite this using a modern syntax? And it was like, oh yeah, totally. You're going to want to do it this way instead of the way that I had done it. And it was fine, and it worked, and it had the modern syntax, and I put it in there. But obviously you have to check it and
yeah.
be a little
It's
careful
good
with
that
it.
it's accurate. I ran into a problem. I was working with a niche product that and I asked it how to do some things, and I knew the
Mhm,
limitations of this language in this
mhm.
product. And ChatGPT, even the paid version, it suggested approaches that were correct in other systems. So
Yes,
it just is like, oh hey, of course, just do this, because every other system you could do that, but you
yes.
can't in this one. And so I saw the output. I'm like, it's not going to work. That doesn't exist in this. And then you get in the
That does
argument.
happen
Yeah,
once in a while. I will say that does happen once in a while. Like, and this is a whole. I do a whole talk on. Part of my AI talk is on what are known as hallucinations and why they may not happen. Um, and this is considered one of those hallucinations, which is a really terrible word for why it's happening. But essentially, the likelihood of it being correct is considered to be extremely high by the AI, because it is the way that it's done in almost every single
yeah.
other language. It just so happens in this particular one, it's done a different way. So languages that are just way outside the box in the way that they do things. So CF, I think, kind of warrants that in terms of the CFML. Like CF script is pretty good at doing things in a JS type way. R is another one that is a little bit outside the box. Like if you try to get R code, sometimes it gives you back stuff and you're like, what were you thinking? Like this has nothing to do with the language. But eventually though, it will get there usually, right? If you copy and paste it, that didn't work, and say that didn't work, I got this error, it'll be like, that's right. That doesn't exist in this language. Let me do this way. And you're like, why did you tell me that in the first place? But that's the way AI sort of works. Like it has to make these linkages.
And that's a much different experience than pictures. If you've seen the memes out there on people arguing with, or the videos they're arguing with ChatGPT on pictures, and it's true. I've done it. I've asked it for a picture and I asked it to change it, and
it has no idea.
I was doing a simple thing where I had like a picture of my son. I'm like, hey, here's a picture of my son. Add like a cowboy hat to him, and it couldn't do a realistic picture, so we did like a cartoony picture. And I was like, okay, that's no problem. Then we go, hey, here's my daughter, and do some fun pictures with her. And I have younger kids, and they love that. They're like, oh, here's my daughter riding a unicorn, and she's like, oh, that's so cute. And then I was like, okay, hey, like it was near Christmas time, and I was like, oh, hey, I don't have a picture of like all 3 kids with Santa. Just because I have my one daughter was 12 and she was too cool to be hang out with us and some of the things. So I was like, oh, you know what? ChatGPT, why don't you add my other daughter, the 3 kids, and put them with a cartoony Santa? Well, result was Santa, a boy and a girl, son and daughter. And I was like, no, there's only 2 kids in Santa. Put a third. Okay. Another different example of Santa and 2 kids. I was like, no, you did it again. Add a third. Nope. 3. I'm like, after 3, I was like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah. There's some interesting. So and again, like conceptually, when you're doing this and you're trying to train it and tell it to do the things that you're doing, you're interacting with it as though it is a sentient being that understands language. It is not. It's a mathematical concept. It's literally a bunch of algorithms that are, it's like 3 algorithms in a trench coat pretending to be an actual person. I actually had a friend of mine that was trying to create a logo for his company, just playing with it. He already had a logo, but he was like, oh, let's play with this thing. His company name has 2 X's in a row in the middle of it. And ChatGPT absolutely refused to do that. It would just, no matter what he did to it, it would just not do, he would tell it, this is the name of my company. It has nothing to do with bad stuff, until he tricked it into making the double X's, because he didn't actually say they were X's. He said they were other 2 things, and then it did it. And then he was able to generate all that he wanted to. So there's ways to prompt engineer your way towards what you need, but you need to do it in a way that understands that what you're working with has these limitations, that you sometimes have to like jump over the mountain to get to the valley that you want to be in. Otherwise, you'll never make it. You'll just keep sliding back down over and over and over again.
If anyone wants to see something, follow me on LinkedIn. Just look me up. I guess actually there's probably 5,000 Ryan Browns, but Ryan Brown xByte. Look me up. You'll see something I did about a month ago. It was hey, we need to fail more this year, and I'm big on some leadership stuff and getting people to, you just take a chance. Stop worrying so much about how it's going to work. Just break eggs, go fail, learn, iterate, that type of thing.
Fail fast.
And so I wanted ChatGPT to make a thermometer for me, showing me like, oh, hey, each month, and like kind of going up like a donation type thermometer. And I wanted each month to be the levels. So I tried a couple times just being generic. Then I actually explicitly said, put this here, this here, this here, and use the actual abbreviations for each month. Not even close. And so I've had a lot of difficulties with even the paid version,
Mhm.
especially with letters. Letters, it's words, creating images based off words. It's been terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't really understand those things at all. And it varies across the different generators, like Midjourney versus ChatGPT versus some of the other. Even Firefly has had different levels of understanding and capability over the years. That sort of changes. And in some cases, they actually have guardrails in place to prevent you from doing, bad things. And sometimes you get caught in those without meaning to, right? And the funny part is often you can get around those things by just like figuring it out. A great example of this was, so I have this little cousin, I think she was 11 at the time, that I was showing AI to. So her and her sister, who's like 8, I was there, and we were basically, her mom had me over to talk about Adobe, what we do, kind of talk about art and AI, because art and AI are this thing that's coming up. So I showed them Firefly, and the 8-year-old sort of just was like, meh, whatever. She went off and played with something else. But the 11-year-old was like fascinated, and she's messing with it, and she asked it to make Tinkerbell, and she got nothing.
Oh,
Nope, because it just absolutely would not do it. Firefly especially does not do anything with any sort of copyright or whatever. And so I explained. I said, so you have to understand. Of course, I'm talking to an 11-year-old, so I have to be like, okay, you have to understand, like, the characters that you might see in a movie or whatever. Those are protected. Those are owned by people. This is not allowed to have those in there. So if you ask it, it doesn't really know what you're talking about. So it's not going to be able to generate that for you, right? And she was like, oh, okay, right. And then I start talking to her mom about, AI in the classroom and how it can, like, help teachers to generate, like, really cool images for their students to get them more engaged and whatever. And I look over and I see a screen full of Tinkerbells.
she did it.
Yeah. Within seconds, this 11-year-old who had never seen anything having to do with AI in person prompt engineered her way past the guardrails on Firefly. It was amazing. And because she figured out, well, if it doesn't know Tinkerbell, I could do little fairy girl green butterfly wings flying over a field, whatever, right? Like,
Yeah,
she just, like, did the descriptions, and I mean, they look like Tinkerbell, blonde, like, she did all the
yeah,
different descriptions, and sure as heck, like, it looked exactly like a Disney Tinkerbell. In fact, it felt like some of the things had been trained on someone who had made Tinkerbells but not used the wording,
ah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
they themselves were trying to get around copyright, maybe, and it was now on her screen, and I was just, jaw dropped. I was like,
So for
okay,
those if anyone out there has prompt engineer positions, go to the 5th and 6th grade classrooms. Um,
yes,
but
they will they
child
will blow
labor
you
laws
away.
aside, I guess you gotta contract the parent or something.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Um, but go get the 5th and 6th graders. They'll be
It
your prompt engineers.
it literally reminded me of the whole, like, kids and iPads, where they're just like,
Oh yeah,
they can just, like, utilize them so quickly and so well. It's just like second nature to them. It's going to be the same thing with AI. They're just going to understand it at a level that you and I will never be able to communicate at. It's just never, like, we just won't get there, because they're going to grow up never knowing a world that didn't have AI in
yeah.
it, that pervades every single aspect of society. I mean, we're already kind of getting there, but it's only going to keep going and keep being everywhere. I sort of laugh because people go like, "Oh, AI is just like, remember when VR was so big a few years ago and whatever." And I'm like, well, first of all, yeah, it was, and a lot of really good stuff happened, but we sort of hit the limits on technology, and those limits are actually still being pushed. So maybe pay attention to that. But this isn't that. Like, this is a revolution on the level of something like SSL, which enabled online e-commerce to become a thing, which has taken over the entire planet, or maybe even something as big as the internet. Like that's the level that generative AI is at. It's not a joke and it's not fake. I definitely would be investing my money in companies that are doing that, which is real easy because everyone is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So if you are someone who wants to hear more of Mark's talk on generative AI, then it's you have you said it's which is the Michigan.
It's the Mid Michigan ColdFusion Users Group. You can look those
Okay.
folks up. You can go on the CFML Slack in the CFML General. There was an announcement made there. There was also an announcement made, I believe, on the CFML Programmers Facebook group, which if you're a ColdFusion developer, you're probably part of one or all of those things already. And you may be already aware that I was doing this talk. So
Ooh, and did you say you're also doing something around AI for the online Cold Fusion event, or are you doing a different
yes.
presentation?
It's a different version. So the one
Okay.
online will actually be how to use ColdFusion
Ah,
with
okay.
with AI, and also focusing more on how to prevent or mitigate. You can't actually prevent them. How to mitigate hallucinations
Okay.
in your AI returns, and it's mostly text stuff because a lot of people use it to create like marketing materials
Yeah.
and that sort of thing, and you need to be super careful about like what that stuff says when it comes back. And I go into a little bit what AI is and why it leads to these things that we're terming hallucinations. And I'm actually going to be doing a series of AI talks in person for companies in the Sacramento and San Francisco Bay Area region coming up probably early next year. I'm building up a set of them. There's 5 different talks that I'll be doing for companies that are interested in learning more about generative AI and all the various things that are out there,
Wow.
ethics, how to do that. Yeah. So I'm sort of spinning off into that as well,
Nice, nice. All right, well,
which is cool.
guys, we have effectively filled up an hour of your time. So if you have listened and watched this entire thing, thank you very much. I don't know why you would have tuned off. We're two very
We're so
interesting
entertaining.
people. Yeah. Um, and we didn't warn you about this, but you got not only Summit Cold Fusion stuff, but you got AI discussions,
Mhm.
some stuff about kids in there. I mean, we hit a lot of topics.
Yeah, making mixed drinks using AI,
Oh yeah, I mean, now you're gonna see all the
tattoos,
you amazing tattoos. You're gonna see all
everything.
the bartenders now with Vision Pros. Be like, hey, I'll just make you up a random drink that Vision Pro tells me to make right
Boom,
there.
boom, 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 boom. Yep.
All right, well, everybody, thank you for joining us for this edition of Cloud Experts Unleashed. We had our resident, or our not resident, but our cloud expert right here, Mark Takata. Now you've not only a senior evangelist, but you're also a cloud expert. You can add that to your title.
Excellent.
There
Keep
you
on
go.
adding it on. Voltron, I'm telling you.
All right, everybody, this is Ryan Brown signing off here, Mark Takata. Thank you very much for joining us. And guys, have a great day.